over the course of the last like 24 hours, I've done 4 shows. My morning show yesterday, my afternoon show, and 2 stand-up shows last night at Flappers. I got one more tonight at Flappers in Burbank. It's very exciting. It was a great show. I live streamed both of them on my channels, and a good time was had by all. It was a joy to be back in a situation where I was doing the jokes in person in front of a bunch of people who were hearing the jokes in person, and and Jay Leno opened the show last night, the first show, the early show. He's an older gentleman now, so he didn't stay for the late show, as you do. And
how's Jay Leno's stand-up these days?
It's great. Yeah, it's great. I mean, he's a good writer. He always has been, and a little inside baseball, I guess, for fans of his know this if you've ever seen him live. He's a lot sharper. He's got a lot sharper elbows in his stand-up than he ever did on the Tonight Show. Because of the...
Yeah, I remember seeing him on Letterman back in the day, and he was great, and then he turned into something else on the Tonight Show.
Yeah, and that's because that's the gig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's like hosting a game show to some degree. Like, you're not going to, I'm sure...
Oh, Treasure Mall.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they wouldn't let me do my edgier stuff when I did Treasure Mall. So, lots of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of news points to talk about, and it's really hard to figure out where to jump off from because a lot of it is extraordinarily consequential. This is kind of an amazing weekend. One of the big things that came out, the CDC just released a report that said that people, in a double-blind study that they went in 9 states from January to September 2021, a very comprehensive overall study, that people with natural immunity, having had COVID that are not vaccinated, have a 5 times greater chance of getting COVID again than people who are vaccinated or people who have had it before and have been vaccinated. So this has been Rand Paul's primary talking point is that natural immunity is enough and you don't need to get vaccinated. And the CDC's own reporting on this, and it's a pretty big study.
It's just such a dangerous hill to die on. Why are people doing this?
Because of paranoid delusions based on the fact that they can't imagine that they lost an election fair and square, and so their psyche finds every way to patch holes in their existence that are somehow, sort of bouncing around their head,
I can
making
win
them
this. I can win this.
Yeah, making them feel bad about themselves, essentially. And the summary of it is what's already known about this topic. Previous infection with SARS-CoV-2 or COVID-19 vaccination can provide immunity and protection against subsequent SARS-CoV-2 infection and illness. They knew this already. The vaccines work. What is added by this report? Among COVID-19-like illness hospitalizations among adults ages greater than or equal to 18 years whose previous infection or vaccination occurred 90 to 179 days earlier, the adjusted odds of laboratory-confirmed COVID-19 among unvaccinated folks, adults, with previous SARS-CoV-2 infection were 5.49-fold higher than the odds among fully vaccinated recipients of an mRNA vaccine, which is, by the way, the Moderna or Pfizer ones, not J&J.
Right.
Among fully vaccinated recipients of those who had no previous documented infection. So, obviously, the outlier in this would be, the assumption would be natural immunity plus getting vaccinated would lower your chances even further because vaccination itself makes you 5 times less likely than someone who's had COVID before to get it again, one of the variants. And again, both situations, both having it previously, according to the studies that have been coming out, and being vaccinated, both protect you against serious illness and death. The difference is, are you going to carry it to other people who are not vaccinated and who have not
to care about?
Yes, that is precisely the part that I find to be a hitch in their get along. I don't get what part of that they don't understand. And these folks, in Rand Paul's circle, in the right-wing circles, and in Trumpistan, are the ones who are most likely to not have had it and not been vaccinated until they've had it, and then when they have it, not getting vaccinated. So that's fivefold factor. It affects them more than anyone else. These are the people who would benefit most from this knowledge. And this QAnon chasing the deep state idea that it's all a big plot, which, by the way, for the record, still boggles my mind. Because, again, if your goal was to depopulate the earth with some kind of a scheme, you wouldn't just get the people that you could get a needle in their arm because it's too expensive and too difficult. You'd get a needle in.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah, you'd create a real disease and then inoculate the people you want to save, right? You would give the antidote to your friends and release the poison in the public. You wouldn't release.
That's how all the old comic books did it.
You wouldn't only poison people who were on your team. Right? It just makes no sense. I'm glad these folks are terrible at worldwide depopulation schemes.
They're killing people who just don't know better.
Well, that's the issue, and that's why it's really difficult for a lot of people like on our side of the aisle to even fathom because
we've always cared about people we don't like.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have to like you to want you to be able to survive, and I don't need you to die because I disagree with your ideas. I don't need you canceled in general. I've never been a big fan of that anyways, and doesn't bother me because I can listen to anybody's ideas, and my ideas are better, so I don't worry about it. But even beyond that, I certainly don't need you canceled from the earth. Being stupid or crazy or gullible should not be a capital offense. And unfortunately...
Which is why you and I are friends.
That's right. Absolutely. I would have killed...
You can tolerate all of those things in me.
That's right. I would have killed you a long time ago had that not been the case. Had I been a serial killer that only goes after the gullible, which quite frankly is lazy. I mean, others... How do you get the respect of the other serial killers at the bar if... They're
probably not invited to the reunion.
That's right. So, I honest to God, I feel like these folks are having an increasingly difficult time, luckily, in convincing their side of the aisle not to get vaccinated, not to do all this stuff. And there are a lot of these folks, and they make a lot of noise out of the EMTs and the first responders and the cops who are Trumpies. And that's what it really is about. The ones that marched in New York, the cops that are walking off are the ones who voted for Trump. It's almost 1-to-1. Again, if there was this big deep state Democratic, pentablet Illuminati version of reality where they were trying to wipe out people who were true patriots, and that's the people who voted for Trump. These people are doing it to themselves, and it's terribly sad and unnecessary. But this is every time new information comes out, we find out that following the science and trusting in the fact that even if you don't trust Big Pharma wants you to be around for a long time. They don't want to kill off their customer base. It's like the Mexican drug cartels who are trying to drive down the amount of fentanyl in the country because it's killing off their addicts. They would rather you be alive and addicted to. The Big Pharma wants you alive and on back pills and TRT for the rest of your life. They don't want you dead next week. There's no there. But yet, this is the fantasy. And we got to take a break. When we come back, there is a story out of in Michigan where a QAnon adherent is stealing voting equipment, allegedly. With the idea that they're going to give their people the inside by getting them one of these devices that clearly will show that it's linked to Chinese computers that gave Joe Biden the Hunter Biden seat in the presidency and instead of it just being another right-wing nutcase committing a felony to show their fealty to Donald Trump. It's bizarre. We'll be back. It's the Hal Sparks Radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk.